Good morning, everyone. I'm happy. I was wondering after the really nice evening yesterday how many people would be motivated enough to get up today to hear about user communities, but I'm happy that there are a few of you. And I'm mostly happy that Jesper left the stage because someone said yesterday this looks like a box ring. And I was wondering, he's much bigger than I, so it wouldn't have been fair competition. So no one is battling me. That's great. Well, again, I'm really excited to be here today to talk about user communities. I think it's a little bit of a different angle, perhaps to look at market intelligence, but it is a holy grail of information. So I think it is something that everyone should have on their radar. Oh, there's my clicker. I'm from SAP, as Jesper mentioned, and hopefully many of you know that this is the world's largest provider of enterprise application software. We're based in Walldorf, so this was a refreshingly short trip for me yesterday. And I brought a few different numbers that I think illustrate well who we are as a company. The fact that 77% of the world's transaction revenue touches an SAP system makes me really proud, but it also fills me with a great sense of responsibility towards our customers and all the businesses that rely on us every day. We also have a lot of large customers. 92% of the Forbes Global 2000 companies are SAP customers. But what a lot of people don't know is that 80% of our customers are small and medium-sized enterprises. And we're also more known, I would say, as a big on-premise provider. But I read in the last quarterly report that by now we have 150 million cloud subscribers. And that was a really interesting transition for us as a company too, but that's a different presentation and probably not one that I would give. We offer solutions for 25 industries and 12 lines of businesses for almost 400 customers in 180 countries. So along with my 90,000 or so colleagues, I feel in very good company on our mission to help businesses run better and improve people's lives, which is our purpose. So we're here today to talk about communities, and community is all about people, of course, but ironically, the best way that I know how to explain the value of community has to do with dogs. I don't know if there are any dog owners here, but if there is, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. This is Reggie. He's my first dog. I adopted him from a Hungarian shelter 1.5 years ago. And it's fair to say that he changed my life, because before I adopted him, I managed to live for 8 years in my village without knowing anybody. It's possible, and I don't know if it means that I'm particularly antisocial. I hope not. My excuse is I work a lot, and my social interactions were just not in my village. So Reggie arrived around midnight on a Friday night, and by noon on the next day, I pretty much knew all the other dog owners in the village. I was now part of a community. And not only did these dog owners gradually introduce me to everybody else in the village, they became my network of trusted advisors. I didn't know much about dogs, and everything that I've learned about dogs, I've learned from this network. And we also don't make any purchase decisions about the dogs, for our dogs, without consulting each other. These dog owners are very well connected, so if it's what dog food is the best to buy, what vet to take the dog to if he gets sick, what hairdresser to take them to. There are all sorts of things for dogs that you would never imagine. We listen to each other a lot more than we would ever listen to any sales or marketing activity of these providers. So as you can imagine, if you're a vendor, if you're a company providing anything for dogs, this is a holy grail of information. It matters what these dog owners say to each other about you. And you can also imagine how much knowledge they have that would be important for you in order to shape your portfolio and shape your messages to the market. And that's important because we do have to change how we go to market and how we engage with customers. Because there was a very nice time, I remember it, I'm old enough to remember the days before the social age, before the mobile phones. And I'm in marketing, I thought it was really, really nice. You could put out a message and it pretty much stayed the same. And you could somehow control a message. Today, it's not possible. I mean, when I grew up, we didn't know what fake news was. Today, people make things up and it becomes a fact. Or they take your message and they changed it along the way, so it's not the same anymore, and it spreads so quickly and so broadly that it's really hard to control a message. But what we can and should do today is to orchestrate the conversations and to mobilize the tribes of people that our audiences are listening to. You've all been at these conferences, I'm sure, where you're on stage, you're telling the audience something, and they are all sharing on Twitter and on LinkedIn, on the other social platforms. But they are not only sharing, they are adding their opinion to the message, because that is what their followers will want to hear. And by the way, I encourage tweeting in my presentations. That's why I have the Twitter handle. Sharing is caring is my motto in life, so feel free. There's also disruption that forces us to think differently about how we engage with customers. I don't know who of you had a little bit of a stressful time running up to May 25th this year. If you didn't, you're not in sales or marketing, that's for sure. But I think it actually impacted how we engage with customers a lot. And what GDPR and other data privacy regulations mean is that we have to earn the right to have a conversation. We can no longer force ourselves on anyone when we think it's the right time to have a conversation. We have to make sure that we are interesting enough and that we are open enough and that we are informing people enough to come to us when they want to have a conversation. Because what happens in a digital networked economy is that business happens more real time than ever before. We know in B2B that buyers make up their mind before they talk to us as a vendor. About 70% of the buyer's journey is done before someone even wants to have a conversation with us. And what's maybe even more discouraging is that they've made their decision to 90% when they start talking to us. So if we can't influence people before we have a real conversation, we've lost the game before it started. The second one is tough. Buyers sometimes don't think that we are that interesting. And in fact, I had a manager who used to be a social media consultant, and she said the most frequent thing she has to tell her client is that your messages are actually quite boring. You're not that interesting. That's not fun to hear, but hey, I think that's why we pay consultants, right? To give us the uncomfortable truth. And it is true that people listen to peers more than they listen to you. And it's simple. The reason is not because we don't have to take it personal. It's not because they don't like us. It is because they don't expect us to be objective. If I say our new offering is the best thing since sliced bread, people expect me to say that. I work for this company. They want to hear from their peers, is this really exciting? Is this really something that I need to pay attention to? So they listen to their peers a lot more than they listen to us. At the same time, we see that there are faster innovation cycles. We used to say that standing still is moving backwards. Today, moving forward slowly is also moving backwards. So we have to innovate faster. And that becomes more and more difficult unless you can collaborate with the people that you are innovating for. And what we are also seeing is that customer experience, I heard it yesterday too in one of the presentations, customer experience is becoming a top buying criteria. There's actually research that shows that it's becoming more important than price even. And the way that people network around your brand, the way that they collaborate with you and the other customers in your network has a huge influence on the experience that they have with you as a brand. What we're also seeing is that flexible contracts and subscription models allow people to leave us faster. So we no longer just have to win the customer by the time we're asking them to sign a contract. We have to continue to win them every single day. And the answer to how to respond to all of this is really becoming a social business. And social business is a lot more than having a Twitter account, make no mistake about that. A social business is a much bigger concept, and it means that lines are blurring between us and them. There is no longer such a big difference. You're part of an ecosystem, and it doesn't matter if you're a partner or a customer or the vendor. The more you can collaborate with your audiences, the more you can increase your reach and the credibility of your message, because you let others tell the story about you. You also innovate a lot faster and better if you have a closer relationship with your users, with your influencers, with your partners. You can improve the quality of your products and services, and you can improve the speed to market. It's also an investment in customer experience. If you let people in, if you let them influence your strategy, if you let them be part of shaping your strategy, you will increase the customer experience. But it's also the network that people have with each other within your community is a huge benefit for them in terms of getting more value out of their investment with you. And of course, user community, I often describe it as it's a bigger ear to the ground. If you have a close conversation with your user base, if you know your influencers, if you know how to follow the conversation of the people who are influential in your ecosystem, it will help you identify risks before the damage is done. This is the SAP community. I brought a few people to show you that it's a colorful bunch. And it's also a fairly large bunch. And in fact, this number is even from 2015. We had 25 million unique visitors to our community platform. And that's a lot, even for SAP standards. We're a big company. And it made the community platform our most popular digital platform by far. And I mean by a lot. And we also have here our most popular events is also community for community type of events. Some of them we support, some of them we even host, but some of them are purely independent events hosted by the community. We have a top community influencer program called the SAP Mentors. And the reason for this, as you can imagine, it's hard to stay in touch with 25 million unique visitors. It's just a lot of people. So we are asking our community to help us surface the top contributors, the people that they listen to, the people with the biggest voice, the biggest influence, and the biggest heart and passion for the community. And we ask them to nominate these people, and these are the people that we keep very, very close to us. We give them access to our senior executives up to the board. They have regular conversations with the board, and we invite them to all our top events. We let them speak for us. We also invite them to give us feedback if we are planning something new, if we are planning a launch, if we are making changes to our product portfolio. We often consult them, and more than once, they protected us from going down the wrong path, because they are so close to the audiences that they can predict how it's going to resonate in the market. We also have employee influencers, SAP people who are extremely influential in the community, often not because of their job description or their formal role, but because of the work that they are volunteering in the community. They are people who are part of the conversations, who people are listening to, based on their expertise and their engagement and willingness to help people in the community. So we also support them with a new program called the SAP Ambassadors, where we are supporting them in their work in the interface to the public community. And we also, of course, have local user groups. These are independent user groups, German user group, America's user group in all parts of the world. And we also have programs on the SAP side that is supporting their work. And I brought a couple of other examples to show what community can look like, because obviously you are all very welcome to visit the SAP community. It is a very technical community, I will say that, so I also brought a few other examples. There's one that I really like. It's an open forum by American Express. Great content there for business owners. And there is also Adobe, and Adobe has a number of interesting forums. I like the CMO one, because there's a lot of good content for marketing there. But the commonality across these platforms is that it's not mainly about the brand. You will not see the brands here pushing their services, pushing their products. It's about content that helps the visitors who are coming there do their business better today. And that's an investment in relationship that can, of course, turn into sales opportunities in the future, but it's not the primary objective. So what does it take to mobilize a community? And I thought it would look good on the slide if everything starts with a C. So these are my 4 C's for community. First of all, it's about the connections. You have to know, if you want to start a community, who are the influencers that are going to evolve your network? Who are the people who are influential in your ecosystem? And not only that, but who are the ones who are going to have the ability to rally people around them, who are going to make it interesting and rewarding and fun to be part of this community? And then you need commitment from your own side. How are you going to make this special for them? Because, hey, people have a lot of things to do. They are not just sitting around there waiting for us to start a community and then they will go there. There has to be something special for them. So what are you going to offer them that is going to make it special? And you also need access to senior leadership, because that is what's going to make it valuable. If you can connect your community to your senior leaders, you can get more impact out of your investment. It's also very important to report back on results. If the community tells you something, if they take the time to give you feedback, you better do something about it, because they are going to keep you honest. And they are going to complain loudly if they feel like their time is wasted. And showing the impact is what's going to make their journey worth it for them, and what's going to make them continue their investment. It takes a lot of courage to be in the community space. I know because I've been there, you develop a thick skin. Because these are vocal people, these are influencers, these are people who are not only going to tell you what you want to hear. That would be really nice. But it's also part of what makes them really valuable is the authentic information that they produce. And people know that. If there was no criticism in the community, people wouldn't listen to the community, because then it would be the same as listening to us, who are saying everything is just shiny and glossy. But it doesn't mean that it's fun. And more than once, I've gotten phone calls from people in SAP who said, oh, these community members, they are so uncomfortable. Can you do something about them? Resist the temptation, because it's not going to get better if you try to silence people, believe me. But it also takes courage to recognize that the community, only to a very small degree, is controllable. It has to stay somewhat independent to thrive, but also to add value to you. So it takes a strong culture to invest in community, both within the community, to make it interesting to be part of, but also in your own company, an openness that you need in order to get the value out of a community investment. And there's a fifth C, craziness. This is me, as you can see in the middle. This picture was taken at one of our community events where I was browsing the show floor, minding my own business, when I was picked up by these two lovely ladies here who told me that we are going to make a guest appearance at a video production, a live broadcast of some other community members. And before I knew it, I found myself at the social media stand borrowing some props and making this very colorful guest appearance. So we basically photobombed this video of our community colleagues. And I remember I was extremely embarrassed. And I was also afraid. I was thinking, oh my goodness, they are going to hate me. They are going to think that we ruined their video, and they are basically never going to talk to me again. But it turned out that these two ladies knew the community culture much better than I did. The guys thought it was hilarious. They thought it was the best thing that happened to them at this conference. And it turned out that we didn't ruin the video. It got more hits and clicks than they had ever imagined. Maybe because of our appearance, I don't know, but at least it didn't hurt. But the reason why I'm bringing this story up is that the edge in your culture is the spice that is going to make people want to come back. You can call it craziness, you can call it something else, but it has to be something in there that makes it interesting to come back and to be a part of this community. So if you want to invest in community, which I hope you do, it's really worth it, but don't think that if you will build it, they will automatically come. Because again, people have a lot of things to do. They are not just waiting for us to start a community. So there are a couple of things that I recommend you do, and there are a couple of things that I recommend you absolutely not do. We start with the do's. First of all, if you are going to make the investment, know why you are making the investment. Make sure that you align to a business objective. What is it that you want to get out of your community engagement? Is it you want to get more insight from the market? Do you want your ear to be closer to the ground? Do you want to co-innovate with your audience? What is it that you want to get out of the investment? And then you have to know who, of course, who's your target audience, and who are the people who are going to help you get closer to that audience. And of course, you need executive buy-in and sponsorship, both because the road may be rocky at times, and then you need the air cover to push through those phases, but also because you need access to these senior leaders in order to get value out of your community. You also have to know what are the spaces where collaboration is going to happen with your community. Online is an obvious one, of course, but there could also be events that you want to invite your community to. There could be workshops, maybe some internal meetings that you want to involve them in. Where is this collaboration going to take place? That's important to know. And you have to embrace openness. It's easy to say, but sometimes hard to do, especially when people are not telling you what you want to hear. But it's very important in a community, listen more than you speak. Just watching the conversations that are happening between community members is a holy grail of information for a company. Here you can see the sentiment, you can see what the next things that people are thinking about, where are they investing, where are they getting stuck, where do they need help. Make sure that you listen, and you can enter the conversation if you add value, but not to sell, not to push your own agenda. And you have to be patient. We're all ambitious people, so it's hard to be patient, I know it. But starting a community is a longer-term investment. It's not a quick win that happens overnight. Planning, building, and growing a community can take up to 3 years. And that's also why you need that executive buy-in, so that you can set expectations, so that people know that this is worth waiting for, but they know that they have to wait for this to deliver the return on investment. I think I've been clear about it before in the presentation, but as a reminder, don't sell in a community. Resist the temptation. And believe me, the temptation is big. I'm in marketing and always with one foot in sales. And I see this community that we have with 25 million unique visitors. I want to market there. I want to sell there. There is a big audience there, and there is an engaged audience there. But don't do it because it's going to fire back on you. A lot of people have tried it, and it hurts, because these are opinionated people. They are protecting their environment, and they don't want any selling there. So go there to add value, to listen to the conversations, but resist the temptation to sell. So community is not the same thing as marketing, and you cannot use this space to control or mandate or push your own agenda, and you shouldn't dominate the discussion. This is their space, not yours. And it's very dangerous to be defensive in this space. It's more important to use this space as a way to pick up where people are getting stuck, where there are problems, and try to do something about it. And if you tell them that you are going to do something about it, make sure you don't leave any loose ends, because they are going to keep you honest. Make sure that you report back. What are you doing with the issue that they have reported? And if you're not doing anything about it, make sure you explain why, because they will understand. The most important thing that I find in the community is for people to feel like they are listened to. They understand if you can't do some things that they are asking for, but don't just ignore them. Explain it to them, and then you will turn them into advocates from maybe being critics. So in summary, community is not a channel, it's an investment in customer relations and in innovation. And there is a reward at the end. If you have an engaged tribe, you have, in my opinion, one of the biggest competitive advantages that you can get. Because you do improve your products and services. As I mentioned before, our community have helped us launch new offerings. They've told us sometimes to move away from something that is not going to go well. If you invite your audiences to innovate with you, you do invest in your own portfolio and your own success. And what you also see is that users help other users solve issues. This is one of the fascinating things too about community. When our community, for whatever reason, when our community platform is down, we see support tickets go up significantly because people cannot find the help that they are used to finding in the community. And that also shows you the value. We are here to talk about competitive intelligence, market intelligence. Knowing more faster is important, especially in today's complex environment. And getting unfiltered feedback directly from the market is a huge advantage. And you also see that you're developing a smart ecosystem through the collaboration that people have with each other. And of course, you reach more people with more relevant content if you can turn these influencers into credible ambassadors. If you manage to convince them to speak for you on a certain topic, everybody will listen. And you see users who are educating other users about your portfolio. They are doing very important work for you. But what is not to be underestimated, I call it stickiness, I can't think of a better word. And obviously the stickiness in an ecosystem has a lot to do with customer loyalty. It's important to all of us. But we are also talking about competitive intelligence here these days. And I would argue a big part of competitive intelligence is to make sure that you keep talent in your ecosystem. And if I think of the SAP community, I can think of very, very few people who have left their jobs to go to a competitor. And that's hugely valuable. These are the influential people. These are the people with the biggest expertise in your ecosystem. And if you can keep them, if they go to a partner, to another SAP customer, I'm happy, I don't mind. But it would be a shame to lose them to competition with all of the knowledge and the connections and the networks that they have. So it's also an investment in keeping talent in your ecosystem. Finally, because I got the 5 minutes warning, I like this cartoon a lot. Putting customers at the center requires a change in mindset. And often if someone asks who wants change, there are a lot of volunteers. But if you ask who wants to change themselves, you can see all these people looking at their shoes. It's a little bit the same when we're saying failure is important to learn. Everyone agrees, but do you want to fail to learn? Maybe not. It's a difficult one. And at the end of the day, I will just leave you with this quote. Starting a community and investing in a community means being brave enough to start a conversation that matters. It's not always easy, but there is a huge reward at the end. It's one of the best investments that you can make in better insights and better results. And with that, I hope you took some interesting information, maybe some thoughts, maybe some inspiration to start some activities in your own companies. And I'm obviously happy to take any questions.